Hey there, Chad here for the AI Content Dojo. This is the in-depth review of Shortly AI. Is this hidden gem the best GPT-3 writing app? Now, this review is constantly going to be updated as changes come to the GPT-3 AI writing app market. Right now, this review is from April of 2021. But like I said, if something comes along that impacts the opinions that I have about either Shortly or the other tools that are competition or the competitors to Shortly, then this is going to be updated. Now, I really wasn't going to make this review, but I'm just getting bombarded with questions and a lot of chat that I see about various tools, especially their launch announcements and things like that. And I consistently see people that are completely unaware of Shortly, which is kind of I feel bad because they just don't know what they're missing out on. And I'm hoping that you're here. You're seeing this either because of YouTube or because of you were in Google and maybe you searched for Shortly AI review or something that got you here, because I think after you see this in-depth review and the demo at the end, that you're going to probably be thankful that you found this tool. Since this is the AI Content Dojo, I obviously get asked these types of questions, and I'm getting hammered with, do I still think that Shortly AI is the best one on the market? And yes, in one word, it is. Now, before you go crazy on me, I know that Shortly might not be your favorite app, but let me explain. Give me a chance. And I'd also like to say that I don't really like the word best that much. I don't love that word. It's used here because that's kind of the question I'm answering. But, best for one person's not necessarily best for another, right? So if you like something else, then that's okay. I just want to show why I think that Shortly is the best on the market right now. And I'll do so in a, fair and free of divisive opinion. Because I just want to lay out why I believe that Shortly AI is the best and why it's the hidden gem that many should discover. Because I think if you do discover this tool, or since you're watching now after I give this review, I think you're going to fall in love with it if you give it a chance. So before we dive in though, this big red button here on the screen, or if you're following along in the article, is just a button where you can go to find a whole bunch of my content that I do about Shortly, and a link to where you can find it. We're going to cover what makes up the best writing app, and then why Shortly is still the best, and the other apps that are sort of the strongest competitors to Shortly before we do a demo, and then we'll do a demo. What does the best AI writing app mean? So I guess before we go through why I think Shortly is the best, in my opinion, let's just break down the components that make up what I think are a fantastic AI writing app. Number one, the app should be minimal and out of my way, right? You don't want the AI or the UI getting in your way. You want the user experience to be clean and minimal. Number two, the AI should give me what I ask for. I mean, that's pretty much common sense, right? But if you've used any of these GPT-3 tools, you know what happens. There's times when the AI gives you back something totally wacky. Number three, the AI should often surprise me with better than what I expected, or give me some new ideas. Number four, interacting with the AI should be elegant, meaning smooth, natural, and efficient. Number five, I shouldn't have to re-ask for content, but if I do, it should be a quick and easy process. Number six, I want the app to be continuously and noticeably improving over time. Number seven, I should be able to use it on any device, mobile or desktop. Number eight, the app should fit seamlessly in my workflows. Number nine, the price should be just right. Not too expensive, not too cheap. So those are the things that I find most important to me. And, on some level, I imagine that you probably do as well. But really it just boils down to efficiently getting the content that I want in the smoothest way possible so that I can be efficient, I can be productive, and get my work done. So with all those out of the way, let's just dive in. Let's just see why Shortly AI is still the best. And we'll go point by point. The app should be minimal. Yes, Shortly AI is like the most minimal app you're gonna find. It's essentially just a blank document with a left like a column on the side. It's a little sidebar. Um, in that sidebar has like an article brief and a button that says "Write for me." Among a couple of other little things, but there's really nothing else, right? The AI is just lurking there under the surface, and maybe sometimes I think that this is maybe kind of a weakness of Shortly in a way. Um, Only because as a new user you might get to it and you see like, oh, this is just a blank canvas to write on. You don't necessarily get that like, aha, this is with the power of Shortly and this is how it really kicks butt, and helps me write fast. And that's kind of, if you skip over Shortly because you don't realize right away that you can just ask for what you want and get what you want, you're going to miss out. So don't skip, learn it, try and jump through some of my videos, and you'll see what I mean. That blank canvas is amazing, and it's kind of, I guess, not daunting, but just kind of hides things well enough so that new users might not just be inspired, I guess, right away. But give it a chance because it's awesome. Number two, the AI should give me what I ask for. Now, this is what all the tools should do, but Shortly is actually really, really good at this. Um, and notice I use the word ask for instead of request, because one of the nice things about Shortly, it is almost as if you're just working with a coworker or like an AI assistant. You just kind of turn to your assistant and ask for things. I'll discuss that a little bit more in a later point. Here, I want to focus on the actual output, the content you get back. It should be reliable and usable, at least in a rough draft form. And honestly, most of the time, you should be editing the content anyways. It can't be bringing me back stuff that just is so out of left field that I can't use it. And honestly, a couple months ago, I would say that Shortly kind of suffered from the same issues that the rest of the GPT-3 AI tools do and still do. I call them random AI antics because it just, you'll get weird things that would happen, right? You'd ask for something and it would give you back, like, you would just repeat the same text back at you. And this is what happens to all the tools, even today. I'm not talking about just specifically about Shortly there. Or sometimes they'll give you back like one piece of text, but then blank, or blanks afterwards, things like that. Obviously, not something usable anyway. Now, recently, Shortly has implemented, I don't know, something magical. While that is obviously a closely guarded secret of what they did, I have no idea. But whatever it is, Shortly now produces some excellent content. Although there is a little bit of skill involved, but that's a good thing, because I think it's important to mention that skill thing, because that might not be something that people talk about a whole lot. The concept of garbage in, garbage out. I'm not saying that you write garbage, but the analogy fits, because if you give Shortly or any of these GPT-3 tools, then they're not able to give you back. If your input is not good, your output's not going to be good. And that there is the skill. Once you get really good at knowing how to control what's going to the AI, you're going to start just becoming super productive, and you're going to get some really good content back. You almost will feel as if Shortly is reading your mind when you do this. You get good with that AI dance, I call it. Like you write a little bit, the AI writes some, and that little finishing up of thoughts that it does for you can sometimes be freaky close to what you're thinking you're about to type anyway. So Shortly is pretty awesome for that. And for that reason alone, almost, Shortly would win. But there's way more reasons. Number three, the AI should often surprise me. This probably sounds like a strange thing to expect from the AI, but honestly, at first, I didn't really have this as a component of an app anyways, but Shortly has made it that way because it has this knack for just sort of, sometimes, it'll give me something completely unexpected, but really good, and sometimes that adds like a new dimension to the article that I'm writing. Or if it's not perfect fit for the current article, it's almost as if it's like another topic that I should write another article on. So it kind of gives me ideas for branching out and stuff like that. It's really serendipity, right? As I have right here, the occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. Shortly is fantastic at this. Number 4, interacting with the AI should be elegant. I started discussing this in number 2. This is where Shortly is just amazing. The clean, minimal interface, of course, it's out of the way and AI is there when you need it. And it's just a couple of keystrokes away. Like everything is tied to a keyboard shortcut. And there's like a big write for me button that you just click whenever you want the AI to start writing. But the real power is that when you understand that you just simply ask for what you want, and then you highlight the text that is your ask, and then you hit Command Enter on your keyboard or Control Enter if you're on Windows. And even better, like I said, all the different commands inside of Shortly, they're all on keyboard shortcuts. So you get good at those keyboard shortcuts and you're just immediately more productive. And if you combine that with dictation, man, you're just off to the races. Like that's one of the things I'm going to show you in the demo below, but you'll start just cruising through all your content. For instance, give me some headline ideas for the keto diet. That's the ask. You literally just type that or say it if you're dictating. You highlight it with your mouse and then you hit Command Enter. And you get back 4 or 5 really nice headline ideas, in this case for the keto diet. Or maybe you say, write an answer about how long does it take to lose weight on the keto diet, or give me an outline for the keto diet for beginners, or maybe describe what's involved in the ketogenic diet, and so on. It's natural, it flows. Shortly, somehow, through some like mystical voodoo powers, is able to smartly know what you're really asking for. And then it gives you excellent results. You don't have to go through and fill out forms or provide a ton of content about to get what you want. And actually, I want to take an aside here because this is important. If you notice my examples, like give me some headline ideas for the ketogenic diet. What is that, like 9 words or something? It's pretty short. When you use the other tools, you got to go through a form. You're going through, it's going to ask you like company name, product name, or describe it in 400 characters, all these kinds of things, right? And it's extra work, right? You're probably going to be way more than 9 words to get what you want out of it. And of course, you could use more than 9 words here. You could give me some headline ideas for the keto diet, for elderly people or something. You can go and add more words and more topic-rich words to focus it more too if you want to. You absolutely can. In fact, there's a granular control where if you want to make sure that the content has a certain word in it or does not have a certain word in it, you can do that too. And it's that smooth flow, the ease at which you can get that content that is just what really makes Shortly kind of, just kind of in a class of its own, really. The other tools, they just don't really come close. Like they come close in the sense that the nearest competitor does have a canvas to write on now, but it's nowhere near as smooth as Shortly, and the output isn't as elegant, isn't as easy to get. It still uses forms in some ways. It does have a little bit of that compose, like write for me kind of scenario going, but it's clunky. I think that's about all I'm going to say about that, about the competition in that manner, because like I said, I want to be fair. The other tools do give good products too, but I'm explaining in depth why Shortly AI is the best on the market today. And this is one of the major reasons. Number 5, re-asking for content from the AI should be easy. Now, this probably sounds a little strange at first. Like, why would asking for content in like some kind of quick and easy way be important? And really, it's productivity, which is the whole reason for all these tools anyways, right? But, right now, the AI does a darn good job of creating content that it probably thinks that you want, assuming that you're asking in a good way. But there are times when it doesn't, and you want to do a do-over. You want to just get your, I don't want that. I want something, give me something else to check out and use maybe. How easy is that do-over? That's the key thing, because when you're in the flow and you're working fast and the AI like throws you a curveball, you're going to have to stop and you're going to have to recreate it. And Shortly it makes sense because you just have a redo button. I mean, as simple as that sounds, the other tools don't. There's no like just redo button. Like if it gives you something that you don't like, you hit the redo button. I mean, it almost seems like it's too easy, too common sense. Um, but AI has it. I mean, Shortly AI has it. And a pro tip though, if you're at a point where in the article you're consistently getting content that you don't want, or it's unable to create good content, there's a few things. You could probably try and lead it better, meaning start the sentence with a little bit more topic to it, more meat, and then let the AI take over. Or maybe you need to provide more context. If you're using the instruct command, maybe provide a little bit more content for it. Or maybe the area around where you're trying to write has like a certain pattern to it, like maybe dashes or numbers, like a numbered list or something. You gotta be careful with those things because that the AI is trying to kind of pick up on patterns and finish your thought for you and stuff. So there's a few reasons, but if you watch my channel on YouTube here, I've got several guides that will teach you about how to use context and things like that to make the most of your time creating in Shortly. Number 6, I want the app to continuously and noticeably improve. Now, this is actually something that Shortly has done really, really well. While there are other tools launching out there, they're coming out with new forms for you to fill out, things like that. Shortly is actually innovating. So they're now giving you control over the context. You get / commands to do things to the content inside of your article or to come up with new content. It's giving you granular keyword controls so you can focus the AI to certain keywords that you want to see or don't want to see in your content. It has shortcuts tied to everything. There's some kind of weird mystical voodoo power steroids or something in the background that just give it the ability to really produce great content reliably. And there's no telling for real if over the future there's going to be noticeable improvements. But if the last couple of months are any indicator, there's certainly a lot more on the horizon. Number 7, I should be able to use it on any device. Now, Shortly has some work to do here too, but at least it all works. Other apps, there's certain things that don't work, like some of the inline content tools or things like that. They work on desktop, don't quite work on mobile. Just small things here and there. Or like the really annoying stuff though is when the screen is kind of, you've seen it before, when you're on mobile and like it's like wider than your mobile screen. It's kind of scrolling horizontally and it's like zoomed in weird and stuff like that. The other tools have that issue quite a bit. Shortly is usable enough. And I write quite a lot on Shortly on my iPad Pro on landscape orientation with a Bluetooth keyboard, and it works wonderfully. Number 8, the app should fit seamlessly into my workflows. When I say seamlessly, I mean that the app should be there when I need it. It needs to load fast, basically. It needs to let me quickly get to the point where I can begin writing and begin creating content. And it'd be nice to have some shortcuts for me to use or, helpful integrations or synergies with other tools. Here, Shortly does take a couple of hits, though. It's an area they can improve upon, that's for sure. But to be fair, pretty much all the content, all the current tools have a lot of room to improve here. Most don't really integrate with anything. You probably have noticed that there's not a lot of integration, and it's not necessarily their fault. OpenAI has a lot of rules and they prevent it a lot. So it is what it is, but it's, maybe there's some innovation here that can go on. But in terms of loading fast and being ready when I need it, Shortly is top notch. You can load the page, click a new document, begin writing. You're just there in like 2 clicks, 3 clicks. It's smooth, fast, and it's really convenient. So like if you're off in your SEO tool doing some research and you come up with a topic idea and you're like, ooh, I want to start writing, Shortly loads, click, you're in, you're starting to write just that fast. Another thing though that Shortly could probably do a little bit better is maybe have some kind of a way of having like a jumpstart content creation thing. For those times when you're going to create a long form blog post, for example, and your blog posts are always structured the same way. It'd be kind of cool to have like a way to kind of hit a button and like the structure is automatically filled in so that or so that you can quickly work and get your content done faster. Just something to give you a head start, kind of, it would be nice. Here's another thing that I hadn't really thought of until recently. Grammarly has like this really interesting bond with Shortly. If you've heard of a tool out there, it's called WordTune. It's an AI tool that's a Chrome extension, and it does some sentence rehashing, right? To kind of try and give you a more creative sentences, or add a little bit of bulk, add some length to the sentences, or shorten them too, rewrite them kind of in a sense. Now, Grammarly doesn't have those rewrite kind of, like where you highlight a sentence and choose to shorten it or expand it, or to fix it in a way. Grammarly will do that to the overall article, and it does have AI tools in there for like clarity and concision, but it doesn't really have shorten, rewrite, or lengthen like WordTune does. But Shortly has it. So if you use Grammarly with Shortly, you get the power of the editing in Grammarly, and also the plagiarism checker, by the way. But also you get those inline content tools from Shortly. Those tools that would be missing because Grammarly doesn't have them compared to WordTune. So there's no need to purchase WordTune if you have Grammarly and Shortly, because they work together really, really nicely. And honestly, I use Grammarly almost exclusively for my editing and plagiarism checks. Number 9, the price should be just right. Now, this might be an area where I get a little bit of flack, because I rather like the Shortly pricing. It's not $1,000 a month, right? It could be $1,000 a month, because you'd probably get enough value out of it. If you're a big company making a lot of content, $1,000 a month is probably pretty cheap. Shortly isn't even $500 a month, not even $250, $100, or even $50. It has a nice 3-day trial that you can test it, and then the standard fee is like $39 a month. And if you like it, grab the annual plan. It's 40% off. It's like makes it like $25 a month, and it's like $300 annually or something. It's super cheap, considering that you're providing the value that it provides you. It's worth every penny. You're going to get a return on that if you do anything online where you're trying to create content and have any means of returning revenue from that content. $25 a month is on the low end scale of the pricing. And unless you're talking about some crazy deals from AppSumo or something like that. But, on one hand, of course, I would love to have like the most incredible deal possible. But on the other hand, I really do enjoy supporting the teams and the products that I find myself using all the time. I want to succeed, so I want to make sure that they succeed too, so that I can continue to succeed. Because if those tools go out of business, or become boring to the developers because revenue's not there, and they're starting to reach the point where they're running thin on the money that they might need to build out new ideas and stuff, and therefore become stagnant, whatever. I don't want something like that to get in the way. And so I think Shortly is doing a good job of positioning itself against the competition pricing wise. And I mean, really, that's the nature of pricing, isn't it? Like, for one person it's too expensive, for another it's a crazy bargain, and others it's not necessarily even about the money. It's more like the vote of confidence in the product. So it is what it is, right? Pricing is going to be pricing it's going to be different for everybody. It's a different feeling anyways. Okay, let's move on to the competition. Who are the strongest competitors to Shortly? I think you saw this one coming if you've heard of this tool, and they are really good marketers, so you probably have heard of Conversion AI. Notice that I started out with number 2 because Shortly is number 1. Now, prior to March 30th, Conversion AI wouldn't really be on this list. I mean, it was, because I have a previous article or a previous video where I say that Shortly is the best, but Conversion AI is on the list. But as of March 30th, they've released an update that brings in a long-form content tool. And they kind of acquired Headlime, which was number 2 on the list previously. Now, I guess you could say that this is a shot across the bow of Shortly AI, right? But honestly, that's really all it is. It's a signal flare, more or less, of a battle that's about to come, I guess. The smartest thing that Conversion AI did when they released this new long-form tool was they introduced a pro plan with unlimited credits. Because if they hadn't done that, and instead used like their long form tool, and it used credits like the rest of their tools, the rest of their plans do, that thing would have been dead on arrival. I mean, you can imagine the limitations that would be in place if you tried to write a long form content and it was burning through your credits the whole time you were writing, and it was not like every time it didn't produce what you wanted, it burned your credits, and every time you produced something that was kind of like okay, but you were going to edit it anyways, and it's still burning your credits. That would have definitely been dead on arrival. So of course they had to do something where they went unlimited. But they chose to use their marketing prowess to kind of make you believe that their product, that this new product that they made, was like the best thing ever and worthy of $99 price tag a month. Okay. And in some ways, I guess it is, because, if you can get what you need from it and you see a great ROI, it's win-win. Who am I to tell you that you should get Shortly over Conversion AI? If Conversion AI is a fit for you, then Conversion AI is a fit for you. It's going to come down to preference in most of the time anyways. $99 is quite high in my opinion compared to what you get with Shortly. But if you can afford it and you like what Conversion AI gives you, then, that's your thing. That's cool. I'm not going to stop you. We're all in this space anyways, and there's going to be a certain amount of market share across the board, and, it's okay. The UI from start to finish inside of Conversion AI, the reason that Shortly is quite a bit better than the other tools that are coming out with these blank canvas long form tools is because those UIs and stuff, the UXs on those tend to be a little bit clunkier. It's not quite as smooth as just asking for it and getting it, Shortly's kind of worked that down to a science. So all in all though, Conversion AI, honestly, it's a strong product, and if you choose to use it, I'm sure you'll do great too. Number 3, it's actually 2 products. I was thinking about doing like number 3 and number 4, but there's a couple of things about these two that kind of make it hard to sort of separate them too much. I made them both number 3 because at this time there's not a huge amount of difference between them in terms of capability. Both of them are forms based that you fill out. Fill out a form to get the content you want. They're both not that great for long form content yet, because I imagine that they're probably working on long form tools. You can. It takes a little bit longer. You create the content, copy it off into another document, then create more content and do the same thing. Copy AI probably has a little bit of an edge over niches with a better, smoother UI and user experience. And if I had to be truly honest, probably under a microscope, it might produce a little bit better output. And that's only because I've heard rumor, I'm not sure if it's true, that one of the founders of Copy AI, his brother works for OpenAI, who created GPT-3. So they're, a little bit of inside baseball there, maybe might give them a little bit of an advantage to getting the most from OpenAI's tools. But Niches has an AppSumo lifetime deal, and that means it's a steal if you can get it. I think it's like $59 and you get unlimited use of the AI forever. No more payments. One-time payment of $59. That's insane. That's a great ROI. If you can get it, and you should, because you never know what's going to happen with Niches in the future. Right now it's forms based. The UI needs a little bit of work, but I'm sure that work is coming, and I'm sure that over time it's going to keep improving too. There could be a point where, at the very least, Niches is pretty good by itself, but if you pair it with Shortly, you're going to get something absolutely incredible. That's pretty awesome. Both of these tools, Niches and Copy AI, they've got a great team behind them. They're really nice people. They're outgoing. They love what they do. You really wouldn't go wrong with either one of these. Niches has that sort of scrappy underdog appeal, though. Copy AI is more of that venture-backed, almost a little bit of a David versus Goliath scenario happening in that bracket. It's kind of cool. Either one of them is good. Copy AI is more expensive because that AppSumo deal for Niches is killer. So if I had to say get one of these, I would say Niches right now, because it's a great deal. You can't go wrong with that. Especially the way that the founder of Niches describes it. he doesn't really seem to have any plans of introducing like too many components to the tool that are going to require separate charges. It's one of the things you got to be careful of with AppSumo deals is you'll get in on the lifetime deal, and then like that product will start adding like pro add-on features or something, and those pro add-on features are not part of the lifetime deal. So in order for you to use them, which then make the tool actually cool and useful, you got to pay a separate fee to get them, and they're usually the price of what you would have paid for the other tools anyways. No knock on them. I understand businesses need to make money, so it is what it is, I guess. It's one of the things of doing AppSumo. Okay, then I have the rest. I don't really like to use that word, the rest. I say the rest because, partly there's so many in there. They're coming up out of the woodwork almost as more people get access to the API, the GPT-3 API. Copysmith is one of the originals though, but unfortunately it's kind of fallen in the background. Content Villain is a new one. It's on AppSumo. WriteSonic, it's kind of lost a lot of its charm. A lot of people complaining about the output from WriteSonic, so I put it in the rest. Of course, if you're interested, check it out. It might be a fit for you. The real thing is that in this market space right now, no matter what tool you pick, you can probably get something really cool from it. Something useful for your products, for your landing pages, for your ads, all that stuff. I think in this space, because Content Villain has that AppSumo deal, much like Niches does, I would probably have an eye on that one, because you can probably just keep it for a while and have a nice deal. And apparently it's trying to do a little something different, having the ability to do webhooks, which might bring up some interesting scenarios for developers in the future. You also notice that there's no more Headlime, because while Headlime technically still exists, I really can't in good faith recommend it after it's been acquired by Conversion AI. It just doesn't make sense, right? Just get Conversion AI instead if you're thinking of one. Headlime, they say, is going to be there for now, but not have any more future developments, and over time is going to be consumed by Conversion AI and kind of integrated. So it's out of the running now. Excellent product. Danny, who built it, is now on the Conversion team. He's a good dude. So, congratulations to Danny, and hopefully it brings some more competition to the market with Conversion AI, basically trying to bring it to ShortlyAI. All right, demo time. You're not going to see it here in this video. It's embedded in the article, and I'll have a link to it inside of the description in the down below this video. I did this way because I've already got this online. This is already getting pretty long, and I didn't want to just sort of jump over to Shortly and do it all over again anyways. And of course, I'm going to add more here over time. But in this demo, I show off dictation and how to use it to get just go through that smooth flow. Like I told you, you ask for what you want, you get what you want, you move on, you keep building out your article, and you'll be productive. Just once you get good at that, super productive. This demo will show you all that, and I think you'll find it really impressive, especially if you haven't seen it before. And yeah, check it out for sure. And that's a wrap. I hope that I've given you enough information that you need to make a really nice, educated decision about the writing app that you want, for your workflows. I've spoke a ton about Shortly. Obviously, this is the in-depth review of Shortly. It is an amazing hidden gem. It almost kind of sometimes feels like it's one of those best kept secrets. But if the competitors, or if one of the other tools is what you find is better for you, go for it. That's up to you. I personally think that if you use Shortly and your competitors don't, you're going to have an edge. It would just be awesome for you to take full advantage of that edge and just outwork your competitors, wouldn't it? All right. That's it for this interview, or for this in-depth review. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, take care.